am I talking to a different racing driver now compared to 12 months ago?
And I'd definitely say a better driver than I was. The thing is, it probably doesn't look like that at times from the outside, and I'd probably agree with anyone that says that, because it's been a trickier start to this season for me than I think what I would have expected and what probably everyone else from the outside would have expected. But that's the way it is. That's how things have gone this year. Certain things have changed and made my ability to perform at that top level a little bit trickier and harder to achieve at times. It doesn't mean I'm a worse driver. It just means there are different challenges that I have to overcome and learn from and adapt to. Yeah, no, the speed's definitely not been an issue. You know, I still believe, like on Sundays, I still want to believe I'm the guy who often has the best pace management and tire understanding and these things. I think if I put last year's me in this year's car, I would be doing worse, I think, in 99% of the scenarios. Off track, I try hard to make myself disconnect from things and take my mind away. I have to put work in to try forget about a weekend and just kind of go and spend some time with my friends and do things. Like, I've had to work on trying to disconnect myself so I can spend more time away, so I can come back and focus better rather than dwelling too much on certain scenarios.
How do you do that? Is it sport, bit of golf, bit of paddle?
It can be sport, and sometimes it's very simple things, and sometimes it's just being with my friends, and sometimes it's simple things, just going out for dinners with my team, or doing things to almost forget what I do, forget that I drive in Formula One, forget that I drive, and just really try and leave the world that I live in. I think it's because I care a lot about what I do, and therefore, I'm always trying to think of, why did I do that? Why did I make that wrong decision? Why did I go too hard into this corner? Because sometimes you're talking about like milliseconds of eagerness here or there, and you can pay the price. So it sounds always so simple in your mind, but there's it's therefore sometimes very difficult to find clear answers for it. But many different things. But both on and off the track, it's about trying to just get as comfortable as I can do and find that consistency and that ability to have the speed all the time and deliver when I need to.
I think you're calmer outside of the car, certainly. I think I made that observation a couple of races ago in a press conference where you don't seem to get overly happy if it goes well. You don't get overly down. That's the impression that you give anyway. Do you feel that? Is that something you've been working on? I don't think I'm
at the level of Oscar Piastri.
Yeah, come on. Is it? Someone does have to check. Have you got a pulse?
Yeah. He looks more happy when he's like sixth sometimes than when he wins the race. Maybe that's like the highest level of just, a bit like Kimi in a way. But again, there's been times when I've, I said, but I'm tough on myself. I'm still definitely tough on myself, but I definitely get down less than what I did in the past, and I think that's certainly been an improvement from where I've been. Something I needed to improve on, something I think I have improved on.
What was the first thing you looked at last winter when you said, okay, how do I make myself better? What was the first thing you did?
I think before I got back to the team, it was, how can I... what can I do outside of a race car that's going to help me when I'm in the race car? And when you can't be with the team and you're on holiday, the only real thing you can do is relax and improve your fitness. So trying to do that was an important thing for me. And then once I got back to Europe and back with the team, it was kind of identifying, what are we missing and how do we get it, basically. And the kind of conclusion we had was I needed a little bit more pace overall, and if I could find that, then it would make things easier in qualifying, it would make things easier in race pace and ultimately managing tyres. It would just make everything easier, but it's one thing kind of identifying that you need to go faster, and the next thing is how you go about it. And then it's just going into all the incredibly small details of from a driving technique point of view, what can I do or what can I adapt to improve? what can I do to get the most out of the car from a setup point of view, but also, we've got so many things we can change on the steering wheel in terms of the diff, brake bias, engine braking, all of those kind of things. How do I get, the perfect settings for me, which is that one specifically is you don't have before F1. All the other things it's kind of a continual process, but really optimizing things for yourself, that's taken a little bit of time to kind of get my head around, and just how much freedom I have around that. But all of those are quite equally weighted. There's not been one big thing that's been the magical thing that's made Oscar Piastri better this year. It's been trying to find those little bits everywhere, and when you find that, you just naturally give yourself more confidence. You naturally put yourself in a position where you effectively lessen the pressure, because you don't feel like you have to go and do something spectacular. You just have to do the best that you can do, and trust that it's enough. And I think that's been a big thing this year, is for pretty much every weekend I've gone to, I've been able to trust that, if I put my best foot forward, if I get the most out of myself here, it's going to be enough to qualify on pole or win races. And that added confidence this year is something that's really helped.
Spanish Grand Prix, does that epitomise all the improvements that you've talked about? When you look at your progress from last year at that race, where I think you qualified 10th and finished 7th, and then you dominate it from the front this year, did that sort of sum up all the improvements that you've made?
I definitely think that's a good example, yes. There's been a few good examples of where I felt kind of the most obvious difference from this year. But I think the interesting thing has been that for quite a lot of races this year that were tough last season have actually been my best from this year. China is probably the best example of that. China it was my first time going there last season, so there was that, but it was a real struggle. And then this year, to get my first pole and win the race there, that was, we went into that weekend expecting things to be tough again, and expecting there to be a lot of learning to do. So to then have my first pole, first win of the season at a track that was very tough last year, that for me was already a really good sign that things are working a bit differently this year, and in a good way. I think Spain is probably a good example. I think Bahrain is probably the weekend that I rate as my best for the year, but I think Spain is a very good one for a similar reason. It was a struggle last season. We kind of found some things outside of my control, let's say, that went a bit wrong last year in Spain, but I think this year was, again, a tough race of tyre management, of pace, of all kinds of things that last year, there was some things that went wrong, but there was also some things that went wrong that were in my control. So to then have that weekend we had this year there was phenomenal. And I think that was a really good confidence boost. But to be able to do that at more than one track this year has been the real kind of confidence boost.
Baku.
Yeah.
You had such a brilliant weekend there last year. One of the best wins of your Formula One career. This year didn't go so well. Do you understand now the reasons why?
Yeah, ultimately a combination of quite a few things. Obviously the race before that was Monza, which I didn't feel was a particularly great weekend from my own performance. And there was obviously what happened with the pit stops, but then also in Baku itself, Friday was tough. Things weren't working. I was overdriving. I wasn't very happy with how I was driving, and ultimately probably trying to make up for that a little bit on Saturday.
In fact, you were purple in quali until you went into the wall, weren't you? So I suppose I'm asking, after the success of what happened there in 24,
yeah,
did you go there in 25 maybe with too much confidence? Is that possible?
I don't think so. I wasn't really, obviously I had good memories of Baku from last year, but I knew, I knew that didn't guarantee me anything at all for this year at Baku. I think there was kind of some things in the lead up, let's say, that were maybe not the most helpful, and then things that happened on the weekend. We had a engine problem in FP1 that kind of unsettled things a bit. Then I was driving not that well. The car, we were on the C6 tires that weekend, which are now notoriously tricky to handle. There was just a lot of little things that eventually kind of added up. And, ultimately I felt like on Saturday my pace was very good, but I was just trying a bit too hard ultimately. And I think that led to the crash in qualifying, and then the race. Again, kind of ultimately a combination of a few things, starting a bit further back, maybe wanting to make up a bit from the day before, reacting to something in the shift lights for the jump start, trying to pinpoint which one of those is the cause and which one of those is the effect. We'll never know, but I think ultimately Baku was the perfect storm of quite a few things, which, obviously it was a pretty terrible weekend, but I think the amount of learning we had from that weekend, from a technical point of view, emotional point of view, a team point of view, like so many areas. Actually, I look back on it now and go, that was there's no beating around the bush. That was the worst weekend I've ever had in racing, but probably the most useful in some ways. So, yeah, when you can start to look at things like that, I think normally that helps you out quite a lot.
When you are in my role, it's like when you have two sons and somebody says like, oh, which one is your preferred son? Yeah, but they are my two sons. How can you say which one is the preferred one? So sometimes when I hear or read some comments of this kind, I find them really very superficial, and just like, I think that sometimes people don't really understand what it means to have two drivers that are with you together in this journey in Formula One. So I just feel very grateful to both, in fairness.
We've all been in Formula One a long time, right? I've never seen an F1 team have such a hold over its two drivers as you two do over your sons. How difficult has that been to achieve? To get them to believe in the system so much? I mean, Andrea, you came from Ferrari, and I think there was unhappy Rubens a few times, there was unhappy Felipe Massa a few times. How have you created an environment of such harmony and such a hold over the two guys?
I think I would mention two main elements that played an important role. The first one is we learn from history. You need to know the history of Formula One. Okay, we take this history into account. We know what happens when you don't pursue enough the fairness, the equality, the sportsmanship within a Formula One team. The second one is what Zach said before. He works so hard to create a foundation where openness, trust, inclusivity, they are the key values. So with Lando and Oscar, we need to talk about the racing framework. How do we go racing together? We talk, the four of us. It's not going to be Zach and Andrea. Oh, this is the framework. Oscar, this is for you. Lando, this is for you. Now you go and execute. We might have started with an idea and we say, Lando, Oscar, what do you think? What's your contribution? The drivers will not adhere to something that they have not been part of in the making of it.
So, if the world champion isn't driving a papaya car, Max Verstappen is looming. You can hear the Jaws music now, can't you? If Max were to take the title this year, given your dominance, will you regret the way you've gone racing?
if Max is the champion at the end of the year, for us the important thing is that we can say we have done our best. And we have done our best according to the way we go racing. And if Max wins this year, we say we're going to win next year. We're going to be there. And we are going to be there united as we are.
I shake his hand and say, job well done. I want to make sure if we don't win, he beats us. We don't beat ourselves. That's important. And we're well aware of 2007. 2 drivers tie on points, one gets in the front. But you know, we've got 2 drivers who want to win the World Championship. We're playing offense. We're not playing defense. And I'd rather go, we did the best we can and our drivers tied in points and the other guy beat us by 1, than the alternative, which is telling one of our drivers right now, when they're 1 point away from each other, I know you have a dream to win the World Championship, but we've flipped a coin and you don't get to do it this year. Forget it. That's not how we go racing. The best way to win the Constructors is to finish first and second in the championship. And the best way to win the Drivers' Championship is to have 2 drivers going for the Drivers' Championship. And in the event 2007 happens again, I'd rather have that outcome than all the other outcomes by playing favorites. We won't do it. We're racers. We're going racing.
This episode is sponsored by Shopify. A new year always brings that same promise. A fresh start, a clean slate, a chance to finally bet on yourself. If you've had a business idea bubbling away in the back of your mind, maybe something you make, something you sell, or a store you've already imagined, this is your sign to go for it. 2026 is the year you stop waiting and start building. And the best move you can make, start your business with Shopify. Whether it's something you've been planning for months or just a spark of an idea, Shopify gives you everything you need to launch and grow, both online and in person. Millions of entrepreneurs have already made the leap, from household names to people selling for the very first time. Shopify makes it easy to build your store exactly how you imagined it, with hundreds of beautiful, customizable templates to match your brand. And setting up is fast with built-in AI tools to help write product descriptions, edit photos, and more. The marketing's built in too, from emails to social media campaigns, all from the same dashboard. And as your business grows, Shopify scales with you, handling more orders, expanding into new markets, and supporting you every step of the way. In 2026, stop waiting and start selling with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/beyondthegrid. Go to shopify.com/beyondthegrid. That's shopify.com/beyondthegrid. Hear your first this new year with Shopify by your side. This episode is sponsored by Aura Frames. We're a week out from Christmas, and if you're still searching for gifts, I've got one that's thoughtful, genuinely useful, and takes no time at all to set up. Why not give something they'll actually love? An Aura frame. I feel so organised this year because I've already got one ready to gift my family, and I genuinely can't wait to see their reaction when they open it. It's a digital photo frame, but smarter and more personal. You can preload it with your favourite photos, add a message, and it arrives in a lovely gift box, so you don't even need to wrap it. And the best bit, once it's up and running, you can keep adding to it. Friends and family can send new photos or even short videos straight to the frame from anywhere. No memory cards, no fiddly setup, no subscription, just a meaningful gift that your family and friends will love, and that lasts all year round. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com and get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using the promo code GRID at checkout. That's Aura, A-U-R-A, frames.com, promo code GRID. This deal is exclusive to listeners and frames sell out fast. So order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. And support our show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply.
Max is a perfect son-in-law for, I think, every mother. But once he is in the car, he's a different person. and he doesn't have any compromise. He goes for it, look, like he did Imola's, his maneuver, and also his overtaking. He's watching the guy and poof, and he overtakes. Some of the other drivers, they try left, they try right, and so on. So his commitment is an absolute one.
How instrumental has he been in the technical turnaround of this car?
Quite massive, but that came together with Laurent. He is a very good engineer. Beside also that he can work with the people on a very communicative way. And they both, I would say, installed a new way of going into the details, or simply saying the numbers in the simulator is not what matters anymore. It matters what the stopwatch shows. That means to get out the maximum of the car, the driver can rely on it, and it's not on such a small edge that only Max can drive it. So also if he doesn't have the confidence, he can't go to the limit like he does at the moment.
What is it about the setup that means Max can only drive it? Is it very on edge, this car? I love the analogy that Alex Albon used last year. He said, imagine having your mouse on your computer on super sensitive mode and the cursor is dancing across the screen. Max can handle that, whereas other people can't. Is that a good analogy? Is his feel his greatest strength?
His feel and car control is what makes a difference. You know, we had a car which was very loose in the rear. Checo was lifting, and if you ask Max, he said, oh, maybe it's a little bit unstable, but he still was on full throttle.
You've seen so many great drivers in your life. Is Max Verstappen the best you've ever seen?
It's difficult to say. Different periods, different cars, but he's definitely one of the greatest.
What makes him so good?
Oh, he's improving. He's completely focused, and now he's 10 years with us. Nowadays, he doesn't make any mistakes. You know, lap by lap, he's within 1/10. If they tell him the tire, let's say the left one is overheating, okay, within 2 laps, he does the same lap time, but the tire temperature goes down. So he also learns his feeling for the tires, which was, I would say, in 21 a handicap, because in this area, Hamilton was a bit better than him.
Compare now, if you would, the Max Verstappen of today to the Max Verstappen of 2015, when he first came in, age 17.
It's a very mature, still only 28, but very mature. He lost all his winning under all circumstances. It comes now more easy, it comes relaxed. He's far better in his technical feedback, and he develops to a real personality and team leader.
Tell me about, I was going to ask, is he a team leader? Is he someone all the troops want to get behind?
Definitely. And with the success, he got even more confidence, and also he makes comments, and his interviews shows how, I would say, it's a 20 years old body, but the mental strength and the experience and the wisdom is like 40 years old.
You say he's still getting better. Does that mean that 2025 has been his best season? Even better than 2023 when he won 19 out of 22 races?
Definitely better. First of all, we didn't have a car which was always in a position of win, but he's more calm. And as I said, he delivers in qualifying. We had been on difficult circuits with the tires. You know, it's also difficult to get the right warm-up, to bring them in the right window. But with him, when it comes to Q3, he delivers.
Quick word on the drivers. Lewis, of course, you won the GP2 championship with him all those years ago, 2006. What surprised you about working with him this time around, if anything?
No big surprise, honestly. I don't know if we underestimate the importance of the change. Probably, because that he spent 10 years at McLaren or with McLaren, and then 10 or 12 with Mercedes. But it was also a kind of continuity. Two teams based in UK with the same engine, with the same environment, and so it's a complete change for him in his life, into the culture of the team and everything. And this, to do it in 3 days in the winter period, it's quite difficult. And I think also the expectation was huge. But we have to put everything in place, and it's taking time. And we have to also to manage expectation and manage the noise around the team.
I'm fascinated about the change, right? I get that Ferrari is an Italian team, and everything that's happening in Maranello is probably very different to things that are going on in Brackley and at Woking in the UK with Mercedes and McLaren. But that bit out on track, is that different when you change team?
No, but we are speaking about details at the end. Yeah, because that for the comments are positive or negative for one plus or minus 1/10 of seconds, or plus or minus a click of front wing that you did or not, plus or minus something, but it's always marginal. And this we have to keep in mind. And if we are not able to put everything together from the preparation of the weekend, adaptation to the simulator, blah, 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 until Sunday, you can miss 1/10 there or 1/10 there. And this is making a huge difference in terms of pure results.
I remember the guys at Mercedes telling me that Lewis is incredibly structured in his life. Is he a good motivator for Ferrari? Have you seen him have that positive effect on the people?
This for sure. But he's also emotional. It means that it's also us to support him when he's struggling, and we also need to push him when he's struggling. You know that he had a Spa in Budapest were difficult for him, but he can be sure that he has the full support of everybody at Maranello to recover, to be back. I'm really convinced that he will do it, and we have to be supportive with him on every single day, and I will be supportive every single day with Lewis.
But we've seen the brilliance as well, right? We saw the brilliance in China Sprint. We saw, Silverstone qualifying, Q1, Q2. It was there. It's still there, isn't it? When you look at his data, what impresses you, Fred?
Yeah, but we have to stay calm. That we did very well, or he did very well in China, but somehow he will be the next champion. We have to stay calm. But it's a matter of support and mentality. He's fully committed. He's pushing like hell. He's trying to get the best from everybody, and he will always have my support for this. That it's, sometimes in the press conference, you asked me at the beginning of the season what was the characteristic of Lewis 20 years ago, and it was this one: the fact that he was able to get the best from everybody. He's a champion, he's doing very well, he has the pace, and so, but the other characteristic is to try to get the best from the people around you, an extra motivation, an extra push, and so. And for sure, this characteristic, is there. And my job is to give him my support to do the best job that he can do.
And do you think his presence in the team is bringing the best out of Charles? Is this the best version of Charles that you've seen?
Probably yes. And clearly, I think this helped Charles also a little bit to release some pressure from Charles. And he did a very good job from the beginning of the season. That honestly, I think Charles also improved on the approach, on the structure. He's more mature, and this, I don't know if it's a part of the contribution of Lewis, but it's coming from the maturity of Charles.
For the first time with Williams, Carlos Sainz will stand on the podium. It's Williams' first podium since 2021.
Vamos! Best podium in my career, guys. You cannot imagine how this tastes. I just wanted to say, this is my first smooth operation in Williams. And not the last, and not the last.
First and foremost, I'm ecstatic for Carlos. The pace has been there for a lot of the year, and dare I say, he needed a result like this for the world to see that he is still the Carlos that deserves to be there, and that we're fortunate as Williams to have him along by our side. And he earned it. He earned it in qualifying, and he earned it in the race as well. I'm really proud of Williams. I'm proud of Williams because it's a team that was in the dark trenches of survival just a few years ago, and yet this was an earned podium. It wasn't luck or fortune that were there. Others had 50 laps to chase us down. We were good. And so for me, it meant the most of anything when it wasn't so much on the day on the podium. Of course, it was great to see the team trackside enjoying it. The most it meant to me was when I were back in the factory, we put the trophy in reception. And I just came down just randomly every half an hour, and it was just queues of people just wanting the ability to touch it for a few seconds and have a photo with it. And that's what meant the world to me. There were individuals who have literally given up their life for Williams and for myself and for our journey. And it's a tiny, tiny reward for them on the way back.
At the end of last year, you said often that you thought you had the best driver pairing in Formula One in 2025 and beyond, in Alex and Carlos. Having worked with Carlos now, do you stand by that comment? Because you've worked with a lot of great drivers. And has Carlos surprised you in any way?
I still stand by my comments. I know it bores the world when I say it, but Williams is bigger than me. It's bigger than Carlos, and it's bigger than Alex. But all three of us will give our all for Williams to be a successful entity again in the future. That doesn't exist with quite a number of other drivers on the grid. My goal in all of this, as is Alex, as is Carlos, is to leave our DNA, our fingerprint inside the team for it to be a championship material, which then allows them to go on and win championships. But what I mean by that is our two drivers deserve to have an ego. Frankly, they're performant and they're fast. Neither one does. It's an absolute pleasure working with them because there's something far bigger than the three of us, which is the organisation. As to what surprised me with Carlos, really good way of working with engineering teams. Very clear, concise feedback that directs us where we need to be. I didn't have to ask him to come into the factory. He came in at 9 a.m. one day. He was already sat with the aero team deep in conversations over exactly at this point in the day. Just there, that's where I feel the front washout. And look, around turn 9, again there, that's where I feel it. And they start to, basically, we watched about a team of 15 people, then break down into that and go, I wonder if it's associated with X, Y, and Z. That wasn't me saying, Carlos, I really need you in the factory on a Monday morning at 9 a.m. to go and work with people. It's his incentive to do so because he wants the team to be successful. And I think that caught me off guard. I've seen many drivers in my lifetime. It's rare for one to be awake before 8 a.m. But more importantly, wanting to spend their time with the team in that way.
So what about Alex? Let's bring him in on this now. Have you seen him step it up this year?
First of all, did Alex mention Thai food in the conference today?
There was no mention of Thai food, no.
I think there was a challenge on him.
There must be share it.
I only caught them doing this, but there was basically a challenge that you had to insert the word Thai food. And I said, that's really easy. My favourite food is Thai food. You can put that in anywhere. But anyway, apparently that's what he should have been doing today. Hopefully I haven't ruined something for the future. Back to Alex. Alex, I've had the pleasure of knowing him since 2016. I could tell you from the outset he was very quick, but he needed the right forum where the world isn't questioning his teammates or what's going on. There's no questioning now. Carlos is absolutely the reference you need. And yet Alex this year, every time there has been a result, he's gone and picked it up. Simple as that. And his pace has been outstanding. I think if there's any doubts, it should be gone by now in people's minds.
But in what areas, in terms of what he's doing behind the wheel, his inputs, are they different?
No, I would say the biggest difference I've noticed with Alex is a step up in his confidence and belief. That's the main thing, in the team and in himself at the same time.
In terms of what he wants from the car?
The best way to explain it to you is that every human being goes through cycles where they're more or less confident in themselves and the car and what goes around. You cannot waver Alex one bit this year. Not for a second can you even just push him. He is absolutely confident in what he is doing and what the car is doing around that. That doesn't mean we're perfect on the car, not by any stretch of the imagination, but his driving force is one of fix this, and I will go faster, and it's directing the team in the right way. And I think that comes from my point is, has Alex always been quick? Yes, I guarantee you he's always been quick. Is he now in a position where he knows how to extract the last few milliseconds from the car? Because in doing so, you can put yourself in a much better place, definitely. And we have some peculiarities in this car on just how to approach certain corners, simple as that. But he's really, really good at vocalizing that, helping Carlos as well. He's not keeping it for himself. It's immediately straight out there and look at this is what I'm doing here. And then helping the engineers drive the direction of travel. And it's in that way, he's more vocal than I've heard him before. And his direction is absolutely spot on. So that's what I meant by confidence as the driver.
Am I talking to an actor or a racing driver today?
Sadly, you're talking to an actor who has dreams of being a driver.
Look, let's wind the clock back. 20-something-year-old Brad Pitt, okay?
Yeah.
You've got the chance. Thelma and Louise is dropped on your desk. Are you going to do that, or are you going to enroll at a racing school?
I probably would have stuck to it at that point. You know, once I was allowed in the ring with Gina and Susan and Ridley, but yeah, no, I always grew up, around it a little bit. I'm from the Ozarks, and there was always like stock car racing or demolition derby. You know those racing sports that come from the moonshine era. You know, trying to outrun cops and a lot of dirt roads. You know, driving in rain, ice. You know, dirt bikes when you're that big and. So wheels are comfortable to me. How naturally did you take to the role of Sonny Hayes? I had the time of my life, and I will say I'm a little sad. I got to figure out a sequel. That's what I got to figure out.
We all want a sequel. But you do so much research to all of your roles, right? How much did you have to prepare for this one from a fitness point of view and also just from a driving point of view?
Well, it's not have to, it was pure want to. I mean, this is one of those rare occasions when, it's just a joy to get in the seat. And I think we started 4 months early, something like that, before we started filming. And, at that point, we're picking up seconds. And by the end of it, a year and a half later, 2 years later, it was after the strike, we're fighting, for those tenths. But we had I had Luciano Bacchetta, I always drove with, and Damson had Craig Dolby, and we had Duncan Kirby, was being our third man when we needed to have some kind of battling choreography out on the track.
What was the starting point? Did you know what a racing line was when you started the movie?
Yeah, I spent my lifetime on bikes and huge MotoGP fan. In fact, it's what got me into F1 because there just weren't enough races during the season. So then I expanded to F1 and now Indy, and you know how it goes. But I spent a lot of time on the track on a bike, just as for play.
Get your knee down?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's a thrill. But I understand the racing line and trail braking, and so I had a head start.
What was the hardest thing to get your head around from a driving point of view?
From a driving point of view, the first thing is trusting these brakes. You flat out down the straight, you're at 180, and there's a brick wall in front of you. And really trusting these brakes. It's staggering what these brakes can do. And in the Apex car is not near what a Formula One car is. And then the next thing is really is unpuckering around those high-speed corners and really, trusting the car. And that first month, it was just my mantra, trust the car, trust the car, trust the car. Push, push, push more. It's amazing how they can stick.
Physically, were you okay? How was the neck?
Yeah, physically all right. I mean, it takes sure you're sore, but it's a good sore. You feel like you earned it. And then, everything builds up in time.
Do you know, Alex Albon said something to me. He said, even the way he puts his earplugs in, that's how we do it. It's like you'd really studied the drivers.
I guess some things you just absorb from watching it so long, because it was never even a conscious thought. Our first weekend was shooting at Silverstone. I felt a bit like a horse's ass, being on... the national anthem, standing on the line next to the real guys. and he just had to swallow it and go, like, this is my job, this is what I got to do. Certainly by the end of it, again, we felt like we were in our own backyard. But
tell us a little bit more about that Silverstone 2023 moment. You're on the grid with the other guys. I mean, you had 10 minutes, 9 minutes.
Yeah, no, it's nutty, but it brings like an energy to the film itself. It's like a race to like make sure we got these scenes. We're going to shoot it on the grid. We've embedded ourselves in the race weekend. We have to prove ourselves that we will not cock up the program and slow down the race in any way, and we won't be in anyone's way. And so, yeah, Damps and I do the national anthem. We turn around. We find ourselves walking with Carlos. You know, these little accidents that happen, and then we get to the back of the grid, and we get 2 takes for this scene with Tobias and Javier. But the day before, the very first thing we put on film was going out, taking the cars out on our own in front of the 100,000 fans on Quali Day, and that got my attention.
Adrenaline?
Oh my God! I had to sit again. I was sitting in the car for a half hour, just sweating my balls off, waiting to go, just like, talking myself through it, because this was make or break. And again, we want to keep the car on the track, but we want to get as much aggression in it as we can. And I go out. I mean, we've rehearsed this, we've talked it through, we know what we're going to do. And I get out, and my comms go down, and I'm driving deaf, and I can't communicate with Luch at all. And somehow, doing it enough, we just like winged it, and he knows enough to like watch out for me. He's so proficient that we were all right in the end.
And how does it work in your world when you have 9 minutes to shoot a scene? If you'd had 10 hours to do that, would the scene have been any better, or can you just nail it first time?
I trust in how things shape up, and I like the parameters that put around us, and so we get these few minutes, and whatever we get is what's going to be chiseled in granite as far as our film is concerned. There's an excitement to that. So I think it adds to the need for speed, to borrow a line. Yeah.
Do you have a need for speed?
I got to hit 197 this week. I really wanted to hit 2. It hurts me a little bit to 3 miles per hour short on the straight. This was at Austin. But that's actually the time you get to rest, funny enough. That's the time you get to, just catch your breath. It's everything else, I've just never experienced anything that's just a more feeling of presence in my life, because you're so focused, but you're not white knuckling. You're just like in this sublime groove. It is really extraordinary, and I try to explain this feeling of downforce, and I fail every time. Because you try to say like a roller coaster, but that's not even right, because you feel a fulcrum point underneath you. You're in it. I was in an aerobatic plane once, and it's the closest thing, but still, this is such a unique feeling and an absolute high.
Talking of feelings, Sterling Moss once said that, the touch points for a driver are fingertips, toes, and obviously your bum.
Yeah?
That is where you're feeling what the car is doing. Look, just how sensitive are your extremities? Can you relate to that?
Yeah, I can relate to that. I mean, when everything's falling in place, you just feel like you're playing the most complicated instrument perfectly. It's music.
How much of a step up was the F1 car? You touched on it a moment ago. You were in Austin, you were driving the 2-year-old TPC car for McLaren.
Yeah, I mean,
just how much of a step up from the F2 car?
I'm still on a high. I really am. I'm just still on a high, and I can't thank Zach Brown and the team, and even though spent the day out with Lando, and wow, just what a high. What a high.
What
the
was
step
different?
Up, it's massive.
In what area?
It's massive. Well, certainly the pickup is like nothing that I'd experienced before. I mean, it's just more brakes, more speed, more cornering power. And so it's really, I want to go back again and beat. I want to beat the time. I want to beat the time. I want to beat the time.
You're so competitive, right?
Yeah, a little bit. It happens.
Tell us a little bit more about your relationship with Lewis. I mean, you've said that he helped with the script and he was an integral part of everything that went on. But what about your own personal relationship with him? When did you first meet him?
He is such a gentleman, so kind. Even his texts are always so kind and formal. There's a formality even of respect and politeness, and But we drew on him a lot. I mean, we had 12-hour sessions in this very hotel in London, you know, where we just like, what about this? What about that? What about this? And he would take us through, and he would, you know, it had to pass his smell test, you know, to keep us, you know, within the parameters of reality, because you know we're Hollywood and we like a bit of drama. You know, Joe, this is so smart of Joe to, when he first came up with this idea, you know, to call Lewis and to get a 7-time world champion on board to help us make the introductions and open up the doors and sell this idea. I mentioned that because that was just after the 21 season. At the same time with us, he was nothing but grace and business and taking us through racing. Talking about feeling like a knob, he got in the first time I on the track was a little Porsche track, you know, south of LA, and he got in the car with me. I'm like, all right, bud, here we go.
What was the first bit of feedback you
Nothing
gave
but
him?
kindness. I think they were actually testing me out. I didn't know that at the time, but I think they were actually like let's see, can he keep it on the track? I want to add one more thing about Lewis, because we found our ending in our film from this description, almost a spiritual description that Lewis describes when everything's in place, and we just wouldn't have our movie without him. Because even in our post, I mean, this man's race knowledge is staggering. He could tell, of course, we're in the Apex car is built on a F2, and it's stretched, and we have aero package from Mercedes. So we had to re-sound the gears and for the final picture to make it sound like F1. His knowledge is so spot on. He would go, no, that's 4th gear. You need to be in 5th gear here. On a particular corner, on a particular track. He would be going, no, you know what? Down the back straight there's this reverb. It comes off the left wall. Add that into the left channel. Like that's just staggering.
One of the things I love most about Formula One is how its past is always present. From iconic liveries to legendary rivalries, history isn't just something we look back on. It's what gives the sport its soul. And that's why I'm so pleased to be partnering with Honda Vintage Culture for this episode, because that same spirit is stitched into every piece of their clothing collection. For more than 75 years, Honda has helped shape motorsport as an engine supplier, a technology pioneer, and the force behind some of F1's most unforgettable eras. From their first Grand Prix win in 1965 to powering teams to multiple world championships in the late 80s and early 90s. Some of you might remember that unlike the race teams in those eras, Honda engineers and technicians often wore their own distinct uniforms, and Honda Vintage Culture brings those looks back to life. These aren't just retro pieces, they're heritage garments. Jackets, tees, hoodies and caps, reimagined with modern cuts, materials and detailing built for everyday wear. The officially licensed collection draws inspiration from key breakthroughs and championship-winning moments where Honda left its mark on the sport forever. With Honda set to return to Formula One in 2026 as the works power unit supplier for Aston Martin, now feels like the perfect time to celebrate that legacy and wear a piece of it. And with worldwide shipping available, it's easier than ever to do just that. Right now, listeners can get 20% off the full Honda Vintage Culture range. Just head to hondavintageculture.com and use the code BTG20 at checkout. That's 20% off with the code BTG20 at hondavintageculture.com. This episode is sponsored by Vanta. As your business grows, you realize pretty quickly that customer trust isn't just a nice to have, it's everything. But so is security, and keeping on top of that can get messy. Multiple tracking tools, endless checklists to keep on top of, and it all adds up fast. But Vanta can help you streamline your processes and stay compliant with frameworks like SOC 2, ISO 27001, and HIPAA without the chaos. It's like having an AI-powered security expert that's always on, automating the heavy stuff, continuously monitoring your controls, and giving you one clear place to keep track of your risk and compliance. Whether you're an early-stage startup like Cursor or a big player like Snowflake, Vanta fits into your workflow so you can focus on building a business your customers actually trust. Get started at vanta.com/grid. That's Vanta, VANTA.com/grid.
I came to Formula One in 2006-07, and I would say already by 2010, obviously I won the championship. I was sort of at my peak. But then in 11, I was much more ready to win the championship than I was in 2010, for example. And then probably, strong years, obviously winning the championship. 2015 was a very strong year, 17, 18. And then 19, and in fairness, 20, I was on my way down already. And I'm happy to say that now, because I didn't have that really last ultimate push anymore.
Did you know it at the time?
No, I didn't. I think 2019 was I remember actually, in 2018, I started the season and traveled to the first race, and I felt like I didn't want to go. I wanted to go racing, for sure, but I didn't want to travel. It's like, couldn't be bothered sitting a day in the plane again. And that was weird. Like, what are you talking about? I said to myself, "What? You love this?" Of course I do. So I went. For sure I went. And then I won the first race. And then I was like all hyped. Yeah. I went to the second race. I'm going to win. And I won the second race. And then the season went on, and it was a very, very strong season. And then in 2019, maybe there was also a time where the kids started to be old enough to phrase, "Daddy, don't go." Before I always had the looks by the dog, like, he knew when the suitcase was in front of the door that I'm leaving, and it was hard to say goodbye to the dog, but with kids it was much, much harder. But then maybe to come back, 2019, I had the same question starting the season, that I didn't want to travel. And then now I know this much better and understand this much better, but it was also coinciding with a time within Ferrari, within the team, where 17, we started off really well. We were missing ingredients. Mercedes beat us. 18, we were more complete. Our car was better. Our package was better. We didn't make it. Mercedes was stronger at the end of the season, and they beat us. 2019 was a strange year because our car was okay. Our engine was really, really good. You remember which year I'm talking about? So we struggled to just make progress as a team, real progress. Like, okay, we are, closing the gap, or we are actually getting stronger in developing the car, especially the second part of the season. And I really, really wanted to win the championship with Ferrari. Trust me, now I'm cool, but I really wanted it so bad, and it didn't happen. And 2019 was sort of the break year, I would say, for myself, because for myself, I started to feel like we're not making it. We're not good enough. At the same time, Charles comes in. I think it was 2019. Charles had so much energy. Completely different time in his career. When we finished 5th and 6th, or 3rd and 4th, in fairness, I was spoiled. I mean, I won 4 championships. I won so many races. I had so many poles, whatever. All I was interested in was winning. And that's the sort of athlete I was. I wanted to win. I wanted the biggest trophy. I wanted that, moment on the podium where I knew I won the race. I wanted the Monday morning feeling of I won the last race and feel so good. But the feeling doesn't last long enough, so you got to win another one. And Charles came in, and when we finished 5th and 6th, he was over the moon with the 5th and 6th, because different stage of his career and the first time in a competitive car. So, I think that's when I started to struggle a bit. Then 2020 comes along, really awkward year with COVID. We're not racing. I get this fantastic break that I never had, and enjoy it so much with the family, and at the same time becoming aware with the kids growing of problems in the world and how they started to affect me, and I'm reflecting them. So yeah, I would say at that time I was probably not on the peak anymore, and with Aston Martin starting a new challenge, I think I was ultimately looking for this reassurance that, can I still do this? Which sounds silly, because of course I can do it. I've proven it so many times. But that's also blending in with what I was mentioning about Lando. This uncertainty or insecurity is something that we all have. All the drivers have it on the grid today. I was speaking to Michael about this many years ago, and even he had it. And for me, when I say even, it's because he is the greatest. I grew up, posters of him on the wall, and he was the best in everything I could imagine with racing. And he was insecure? What? You? So we all have that. And I think those years, from a result point of view, of course I would have loved to see, the team growing faster. But they were important for me because I started to feel really comfortable again with my driving. And I think I did have peak performances. So even at a later stage. But overall peak, probably not anymore.
Let's talk about the mental toughness now, because clearly you've got that. And I suppose it takes us back to Melbourne. I know you've discussed this 1,000 times, but how tough was it to bounce back after what happened on the formation lap?
You don't start your career in Formula 1, right? Like for me, Melbourne was a hit, but not bigger than all the ones I've had through karting to Formula 1. So I'm used to that.
Even Abu Dhabi at the end of last year in F2?
Yeah, even Abu Dhabi is not that tough.
No.
There's been there's been so many moments in my career since very young where I'm realizing I'm not making it to Formula 1. Like, level is too high.
Did you doubt yourself?
Yeah. So many times. I've doubted myself so many times.
What pulled you through those moments?
I'd like to say I'm more passionate about racing than any other drivers. That's what I would like to think. Maybe it's not true. After Melbourne, I was just itching to get back in the car in China. That was the only thing I was thinking about, was just driving the damn car. Yeah, looking back at it, I think during the moment, it was the worst moment of my life. Like your world is falling apart, literally. You think this is the end. So you become stupid, right? In the car at that time, at the moment. But then you just got to keep fighting, and that's what I did my whole career since I'm 7. So I'm just used to that. And I know there's gonna be a lot of lows in my career, many more to come. But now I know how to handle them.
Did you find a boxing gym on the Monday morning after Melbourne?
No.
I wouldn't have been wanting to be the guy opposite you.
My pillow at home.
Yeah.
It's the only thing.
Isack, can you talk me through what actually happened in the car in Melbourne? I mean, from the outside, it just looked like a simple spin, but did something happen in terms of, was there a power surge or?
No, I think it was just everything put together to end up in that wall, which is, I mean, at that time, tires are not really into temp. Start of the formation lab. I remember being on the white line at that time, which was really slippery. And for some reason, I was in first gear, and I, just by upshifting to second, I had this kind of bogged down, and the car went a bit nervous, plus the steering angle I had, and it just went. Just nothing I could do, really. It was, like the wall was grabbing me, It was
pulling you in.
I felt like when the car snapped, I knew I was going in the wall. And as I was sliding, I was just, I don't know how much force I put into the brake pedal at that time. But I was just praying for the car not to be damaged so I could come back. It was quite a hit, so that was it.
And look at what happened to very experienced drivers in that race. Fernando Alonso, Carlos Sainz, they ended up in the wall. Did you get some comfort from that?
Obviously. I think but the same, it's like, yes, because this can happen. Would have been a bit more difficult if I was the only one. But at the same time, looking back at the way it happened, nothing I could have done really. So,
what doesn't break you makes you stronger.
Yeah, it does.
You feel stronger after that experience?
Yeah, much stronger. In junior categories, when you have really low moments, you feel like... I think it feels harder than Formula 1 because you're aiming for F1 at that time. And every setback you have is actually pulling you back from that target. Whereas you make mistakes in Formula 1, as long as you know you're a solid driver, you know you're good, you can stay around. It's not the same pressure. Honestly, I remember going into the car for qualifying in Formula 2, I had so much more. I was more anxious than ever. Whereas Formula 1, I have stress, but it's the good one. It's the one like, okay, I'm going to fight. Whereas in F2, it's just... There's so much things out of your control. I think it's much harder to handle. So when you're used to that at such a young age, you go into Formula 1 quite ready.
Let's end this just by throwing it forwards. What are your goals for the rest of the year?
The natural trajectory as a Red Bull junior driver is to end up at Red Bull, right? I think the only thing I can do now is just I'm so happy within my team, and I'm just learning so much every weekend, and I just want to keep doing that. It's the only thing I like. Just enjoy it, enjoy the fights with the other guys, and don't disappoint myself.
When is the right time to make the step up to Red Bull? If you got the call this year, would you feel ready?
No, but I'll take it.
You would take it?
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't be in a position to say no? I mean, if Helmut...
No, because I'm a fighter. That's all.
And when you see how difficult it's been for Liam in the past, for Yuki now...
It makes it... I'm just curious. That's it.
Curious to drive the car, see what it's like.
Yeah. What drives me is fighting against the best in the world. And to have Max as a teammate, I would learn so much. It would be so interesting that...
Do you get on with Max?
I do. I mean, I think he's a very chill guy. He gets on with everyone, and as long as it's fine on track, obviously. But he's a cool guy, yes.
Esteban, how did you feel when Io said you were going to be working with Laura? Only from the point of view of she was new to race engineering.
Yeah.
Were you scared?
Yeah, because obviously we were both new, so I wasn't, too sure at first. It was quite a lot of unknowns because obviously if you have an engineer that's been settled, has worked, the whole year in the race engineering, job, it's just one side that needs to adapt to it. Now, everything is new on our side of the garage. But I really think like we've adapted so well to the situation and so quickly. Laura said 3-4 races. And to be honest, I wasn't even going to say less. I think we got little details further into the year that we always improve, but I think every engineer does that. But yeah, I think from race 1, with the amount of work that we've done before, we were set and ready to race and to fight.
Maybe both being new helped.
Actually, I'm pretty sure in hindsight. Definitely.
I think it's always because our performance engineer was also new.
Yes.
So it was just like full new. But I always think if somebody is new, and also like the less experienced they are, the more you can mold them to what you need. And I think because we were all new to what we were doing, we kind of molded very well together and just do things the way we need them to be done. Because like we all don't really have a preconceived idea of how it should be. So I think, we've taken the positive from that.
How many times a lap would you be talking to Esteban?
I kind of try to limit it to once. It depends on the condition. It depends is this a race where not much happens? Is this a race where he's fighting someone? Is it wet? All these kind of things. Because normally, once a lap you say, okay, this is how many laps to go. But for example, in a quali lap, I would never dare to say anything. If not, somebody's literally spinning off in front of him or there's a yellow flag. But I think if I'd start talking to you more than once a lap, you'd be like...
And always on a straight, right?
Yes.
That's the hard bit, because sometimes GPS is off. Sometimes, you are trying to speak in the straight, but it happens in the corners. But there are times where, normal situation, once a lap, as Laura says, but if it's, something critical, like brakes are, over the roof, there is an issue with the engine, a critical thing, or there is, a critical decision to take on strategy, we agree to talk as much as we can, because that's critical for our race. So there are times where we must have talked like 25, 30 seconds in a lap. It has happened.
And you are able to do that.
Well, you lose time doing that, because you're not fully focused on what you are doing in front. So you will lose 2 or 3 tenths by keeping on talking. But if you gain 10 seconds or 15 on your overall race time, or you finish the race, well, it's just a game.
How cool are you on the pit wall, Laura? I wanted to ask you about Miami.
You're cool.
I mean, come on, I'm pretty cool. Or the famous Miami thing.
Well, he's busy going around the outside of Lewis Hamilton, right? What are you thinking at that moment?
Well, to be honest, like in that moment, I was just like a fan watching a battle. Like that's, everybody's seen that video of me making faces and stuff, but like in that moment, I can't help him. He needs to do his thing. So, there's not something I can look for or whatever. So I was just watching, your onboards and being like, come on. And that's like, for me, if I, a race start, for example, is the same. Like in the first 3 corners, I can't do anything. So all I'm looking at is just, the onboard and hoping he's going to make enough positions.
Valtteri, how are you? Great to have you on the show again.
Thank you. I'm doing good. Nice to continue our traditions with our annual Beyond the Grid podcast.
Now, the mullet, I have to say, is looking particularly good at the moment. Has it changed colour?
Thank you. It feels good. It hasn't changed colour since last year. Once it got bleached by the Australian summer, the other year, it stayed like this magically.
Do you know what's quite weird is that the hair is as bleached as it is, and the tash, the moustache is not. So it looks kind of weird.
Kind of weird, but I kind of like it. Sometimes weird is good.
It's very Mansell-esque.
Thank you.
It's very Mansell. Have you thought about a goatee and sort of doing a Damon Hill?
I've thought about it, but I like this current style spec. Yeah, let's say. I did try actually to bleach my moustache last year, but it wasn't a good look. I think it looked even more weird.
Okay. Now, Claire Williams was on the podcast recently, and she said how much she was loving Valtteri 2.0, this version of Valtteri, and how different it was to the Valtteri she knew.
Yeah, I know. I mean, as a youngster when I started in the sport, I think I was actually quite shy, very reserved, almost like just a machine, who drives the car. Didn't really show much emotion. Didn't really, allow myself to just be who I am. So I've grown a lot, I think, as a human being in the last 12 years or so.
Has this always been there, or is it life experience that has brought out the colourful version of Valtteri?
I think it's always been there, especially when I've been, if I look back like a long time ago, in a comfortable situation with my friends and stuff.
We just never saw it.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And yes, for sure, life experience, I've definitely opened up a lot. For me, life is much more straightforward now than it was, let's say, even 5 years ago. I'm just, seeing the big picture of life, being able to have fun with certain things and not taking myself too seriously, which I think is very important in life.
Does that make you a better racing driver?
I would say so. I'm very comfortable who I am, how I look, how I drive. But yeah, I'm definitely, speaking of racing, I'm definitely starting to miss that part.
Interestingly, in Spain last weekend, Fernando Alonso was talking about how he left the sport in 2018 and didn't initially plan to come back, but he said, I needed Formula One still. I had to come back. Let's talk about the year out that you're having now. Are you in a similar place with Formula One? You've taken a bit of a step back, and are you realizing how much you want to race again?
I always wanted to race, so I don't know, maybe that's the difference to Fernando. I'm sitting here now without the race seat, not because of my own choice, it's just how things happened. And I definitely still feel, and that emotion was quite quick after I knew I wouldn't get a seat for this year, that I'm not done yet with Formula One. I still have more to give. It's still number one thing in my life. And that sensation, now that I've been watching aside, has got stronger and stronger and stronger. And now I really start to miss racing.
Let's bring it on to Cadillac now. New team coming in for next year. I've heard your name being linked to them a lot.
I would imagine my experience will help because now I've raced in 3 different teams. With one of the teams had mega success, with Williams as well, had some great results, etc. So yeah, I hope I'm in a good position. And for me, I actually see it very interesting project, something new to Formula One, an American team with a maybe different view to the sport. And for me to, let's say, if I would be there as a driver, would be actually very interesting because you can start from scratch. The team starts from zero, and you could actually make a big influence on certain things, which direction to go, and that would be very motivating and rewarding when the success comes.
Do you think now is a good time for a new team to come into F1 with the rule change?
I think rule change is always good point to jump in, because you just never know. If you suddenly get it right, you actually might be doing really well from the get-go.